Hello, my friends. I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are looking at all things BattleTech. And little Missy's down here on the floor. She'll probably jump up here sooner or later. Have Experimental Technical Readout, XTRO, Republic Volume Number 3. So this is obviously a PDF from Catalyst, and I haven't seen Volume 1 or 2 yet, or if I have, I'm drawing a blank on them. So I work on the assumption that these kind of things are preludes to an actual TRO that they may or may not ever make, or, I don't know what really to make of these things, to be honest. I'm still trying to get my head around some of this stuff. Anyway, we run into some very interesting designs and some are you kidding me designs. So this is one of those. I missed that era when Hell's Horses started introducing these quads, and I've heard some other people have mixed reviews. Some of them don't like them at all, some of them like them a lot, and some people can take or leave them. My problem with them right off the bat is they don't look very practical. If you'd learned any lessons from the land airmechs, that certain job classifications, while they find there are some niche uses for them, at the end of the day, it's kind of overkill or underkill or a whole lot of blah. So I don't know. I don't like it, and it also kind of reminds me too much of the Macross or Transformer crap. And the reason I say that is because obviously there's some thought was given to these things, and there was some links to that concept. If you go look at some of the, if you're not familiar with Japanese anime when it comes to mecha, for example, you'll find that this sort of thing is a lot more common in Japanese style anime than we give it credit for, and it doesn't translate well to BattleTech. It's too complicated. Is the best word I can have for it. It's too busy, too complicated, too complex, and how much did it sacrifice? I mean, what's the real... Because you have to wonder how many rules they altered or changed or bent or exaggerated or ignored to make something like this be functionable and have a purpose. The more hardware that goes on a machine, the less space it has for other things. So if you're using faster engines, you got to sacrifice space from something else. Bigger engine means something's got to give. And so the same thing, if we add many more actuators, actuators on a good day are problematic. So having a machine that has many of them, much more than normal, makes that a problem. And then there's the conformity part of it. It just looks terrible, in my opinion. But what do I know, right? That's just my personal opinion. And for those of you guys that like these, hey, knock yourselves out. I'm not adverse to them. I just don't think they fit into the BattleTech world very well. And then we get into some, this is a clan version or a Republican version of an earlier mech design. This is some kind of hybrid. This almost looks like battle armor when I first looked at it a couple times. It's a 35-ton mech, but the damn thing has a resemblance to battle armor, and I don't know, really. Large pulse laser, Bloodhound active probe, tag, Angel ECM suite, and jump jets. Yeah, it's pretty quick. I'll give it that. So again, walking movement of 7, running of 11, jump at 7. So it's got some range on it, got some ability to move around a lot. It's actually packing quite a punch for a light mech at the large laser, although it sacrifices any secondary weapon systems to have all this electronics and add-ons to it, which is fine. It means it's a purpose-driven machine and it fits a certain niche role, and so be it. It's kind of the way it goes. Osprey. Seemed like to me that is a much more radically different view of the original, but I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. The Ryokan 3. Once again, I find it sad that when we coordinate this stuff, we don't coordinate the pages just a hair better, because I've always, some of these TROs are better laid out. So the Ryokan on this side and the image for the Ryokan on that side. Come on, the Ryokan image should be here and the information should be here. It should be a spread. Hello? Somebody's dropping the ball, or they just didn't give a damn. So we get into what is, I'm guessing, the early entry levels for the tripods, because this here is a 90-ton version, and that one is a 75-ton version. Once again, we get back to the mechanics speaking. I'm dubious of a three-legged machine for a number of reasons. You know, the same reason a lot of people don't like quad mechs. You lose one leg, you're pretty much toast. Well, in this case, you lose one leg, you're pretty much toast. But you can make that argument of a two-legged mech too. It loses its leg, it's toast. But the added maintenance nightmare this must be for the technicians. In addition to that, the complexity, the unnecessary complexity of the machine doesn't lend itself for a lot of regions of the inner sphere and beyond to operate these things. These would be very limited by who and what are you doing. Stop that. What are you doing? Huh? You're doing something because you ran away. I'm not going to have you tearing those up. What? Yeah? Are you being ornery now? Okay. Are you being ornery or what? You jumped up on the back of my chair. Now she's going over there. She was down here chewing on a book I didn't want her chewing on. So, you know, that's the downside of having cats sometimes, is they can scratch and chew on stuff. So we got another tripod. Or is this a quad? You know, I can't say. It doesn't say one way or another. I'm seeing three legs. I think that might be a quad. I think there's a fourth leg there. That artwork doesn't lend itself well to defining whether it is four-legged or three-legged. This is a drone mech. Now this is something at the height of the Star League. I imagine at the height of the Star League that drone technology was utilized a lot more than what the lore suggested. Let's keep that in mind for a moment, because this is an interesting conundrum or thing when we see advancements in the real world. Back in the 80s, when they first started out with BattleTech, drone technology was very limited, very crude, and was not being applied to the level that it is today. So you imagine in another 20 years just how much the drone technology will advance even more so. And then keep that in mind. So when we've seen a lot of the early lore and artwork and equipment and all the lists of stuff that came out and all the various machines, we didn't have a lot of that. We had some. Because science fiction and science fiction has had drones forever. This is robots, you know, droids, whatever you want to call them. So they've had this stuff for a long damn time. And so we get around to the modern Star League, or the Star League at its height. It makes perfectly good sense that they would have had a lot more of them. The very fact that we don't have a whole lot of actual robots running around, you know, literal robots, the equivalent of the stuff that we are actually working on today, is surprising, to be honest. The technology levels were there. It's just the witherall. It just wasn't a development arc that they took, right? It was very limited to very specifics. But the drones were the step in betweens, because you could directly control drones, while the drones can do things that would not put the operators at direct risk, which is the whole point of a lot of drones in the first place. And so when, of course, the devastation of the First and Second Secession War pretty much, you know, nixed most of the technology base that allowed for the, you know, to manufacture, research, and maintenance of these things. So the greatest drones that we know, of course, is part of the SDS defense system for Terra and for Star League, and they were brutal. They were brutal. They caused more deaths and destruction than any of the enemy forces combined did, in my opinion. But that was the whole purpose of them, was to stop or slow down an enemy in a crucial location, and they did their job extremely well. So to see this renaissance in technology in the current era, and we went through the Republic. So what the Republic did is gives a big, huge boost. Really boosts a lot of technology and aspects of reintroducing stuff that had already been established back in the Star League era on a common basis. This is something that changes after the the Klan invasion concludes and the FedCom Civil War concludes. So sometime in this dark age, this Jihad era and dark age era that was supposed to be so bad, some serious changes took place in availability of manufacturing, even with the amount of bloodbath that Word of Blake induced. They still didn't knock the capabilities of these people back down to the 30-25 levels. I mean, obviously they've gotten quite more adept in manufacturing and keeping parts going, all this stuff, to start forgetting about things like worrying about salvage and redundant too many actuators and things like this. Like I said, if you go by the 30-25 mantra and mindset, having a machine that has twice as many actuators in it than one that doesn't means that machine is 3 times or 4 times more problematic for the people who operate it and maintain it. Just saying. What you seeing out there? You getting something? You getting that outside? Oh, that's outside. The leaf stuck to the back outside of the window or something like that. It's hard to say, So, anyway. Geez, I go from sweating to not sweating in here. It's kind of cold in this, kind of chilly in this room. I got a sweater on and I don't wear sweaters very often. And I usually got a shirt up and things like that kind of stuff because it just, isn't quite what we want. Pellet anti-missile tank, pretty straightforward. Klan interface armor. I had to read this a couple times and I still not quite sure exactly where it fits in. The Machina Domani program in sympathy, blah, blah. So just another much more intricate sense of battle armor. It's something to do with, so there's some kind of, I think of the tattoos that the smoke jaguars made really popular. They were actually implants in the skin that allowed the neural helmets to interface or directly interface with their machines as opposed to needing the helmet at all, or enhancing their ability to utilize the helmet much more efficiently. So ideally, I think this is that same technology where they applied it to a battle suit that then it makes a person inside even more lethal than they would then in a normal suit. Anyway, so we get to a couple other types of battle suits here, and once again we go back to here's 2 good examples of the really and the okay, I could get behind this design. I have an issue with this design mostly because that huge ass weapon extends so far out from the body that if you look at it, it'll drag on the ground, it'll catch on everything, you can't lift it. I'm just saying it's not a practical application for what's supposed to be a powered up infantry. This is retarded. It looks stupid. This looks stupid from a practicality perspective. I don't see this being a very popular option. This layout here is just bad. As opposed to, say, looking at this one. This one, the weapon systems are a little more compact, a little more realistic looking, and, considering we're talking a human-sized machine here, the density of the weapons and stuff, how they cluster on this thing, the 4 pods up here, for example, it works better aesthetically for me in my mind. Right, I'm just saying. So, now, it is what it is. And we get to the last kind of entry in here, which was pretty... I've seen this before. So this is an updated version of an original Leviathan. So this artwork has been repurposed, which is fine. I got no problem with that. But the saying that the Ghost Bears built these things specifically for themselves, and I thought it was based on an earlier design, but I'd have to go back and look because maybe the Smoke Jaguars built the original. Based on the Leviathan class hull, the Dominion looks to have incorporated lessons from the second Combine Dominion War, etc., etc. Anyway, these things are massive, huge bank. Consider how much resources and manpower and money went into manufacturing just one of these things. How many clusters of mechs could the Klan built and fielded and maintained for the cost of this thing? How many galaxies? 2, 3 galaxies? 1 galaxy? I mean, it just, the staggering size of these things is just that. They're an awe factor thing. And it's just, the very size of these things, they're very expensive. In actuality, their fragility, they're very fragile vessels. They take a, they're capable of delivering an insane amount of firepower, and that's the problem. The other things that are going up against them can often deliver about the same amount of firepower, if not more, back at them. So that's why their battles are pretty brutal, and they don't last long, and they don't end up well. Even the winners can come out with a terrific victory in a space battle. Then you double down on that when we talk about the clans, the houses, independent groups, whatever the hell you want to talk about here, doesn't matter. None of them have the resources of the Witherall to field vast navies, vast star fleets like they did at the era of the Starleague. And I did a video or two on that, and I still believe to this day that a part of that is the Starleague era. The reason they had so many warships in that era during the battles before in the periphery, and then to retake Terra from Amorous, is because they had hundreds of years of ship building and development. So a lot of the ships had been around a long time. It's like our drop ships and things like that in BattleTech. A lot of these ships can be hundreds of years old and have been of service to numerous people and entities over their existence. And the fact is that they're so valuable. Now, that's changed in recent years. These things are becoming less of a non grata and more of just a run of the mill thing. So the fact that we are now producing, obviously at some point, the production in jump ships by itself has reversed itself. So we're no longer in a decline. We're now in a point where the collected resources of humanity can manufacture enough jump ships on a basis to replace and perhaps grow the existing jump ship fleets. Warships are similar in that venue. The difference, though, is that the warships don't fit as many roles as a jump ship can do, and I don't know how many Star-Lord class jump ships you could have built for the same money and resources that went into this one Leviathan. I'm just saying, it is what it is. So we get to the end of it, and then we got our record sheets for all the stuff that was listed, which is great. I mean, right on. I have not seen fielded any of this stuff in an actual mech battle in any form, so I don't know how good they are. Somebody else can tell you, I'm sure, and I'm sure somebody will. Till next time, I'm Rick. You ain't. Tell you, hey, right? It's the right button.